As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized CIMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a CIMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the CIMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study Exam. Start studying the CIMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
The goal of leadership is not to eradicate uncertainty, but to navigate it, and navigating to the top of a professional career would certainly require dedication, tolerance, and integrity amongst all the virtuous professional attributes. And on that note, I welcome you all to another episode of ICAN on Air, today, Thursday, 25th July 2024. It is still your ICAN on Air program, your great platform for learning, powered by your noble institute, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. I'm your host for today, Tosin Yakimumi, FCA. So inform your friends, colleagues, that the show has started and that they can be part of this show on ICAN Facebook page and ICAN YouTube channel. And today, what are we looking at? We are considering another topic, CFO position, navigating to the top of successful corporations. And I have here with me a distinguished professional, an amiable finance expert, independent director of Credit Group Limited, and also the former CFO of Total Energies. Please make welcome Mrs. Tai Oshisoya, FCA. She will be on seat today to provide responses to your questions regarding the topic. So sit back and relax. Let's quickly go and run some commercials. I'll be right back with my guest and we can go straight into the topic of today. Don't go away. I'll be right back shortly.
Security is key to national development and growth. No nation can be truly economically successful without peace and stability, or when its security is threatened. This is why we must perform our civic obligation of duly paying our taxes so as to provide the needed resources for government to secure our lives and properties. When we pay our taxes, government is provided with the needed resources to equip our security agencies for a safer Nigeria. The money we pay as taxes is used to purchase equipment and hardware, invest in intelligence and other sophisticated technology, as well as cater for the welfare of all security personnel. A secure nation is a prosperous nation. Nigeria is safer when we pay our taxes. FIRS, it pays to pay your tax.
Wow, welcome back to the studio. And I have my guest in here, Mrs. Tai Oshisoya, FCA. Madam, it is a privilege to have you on this special episode of ICAN on Air today. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And today we are discussing the topic, CFO position, navigating to the top of successful corporations. And of course, your profile has shown that you have actually navigated through some corporations which are successful within and outside the country, and we will want to learn from your depth of knowledge and wisdom. But let me quickly make our audience to know who you are in particular, so they can actually know quality of the guests we have brought on the show today. I have Mrs. Taya Detokumbo Shisoya, FCA. She is the immediate past Executive Director, Finance and Control, and Chief Financial Officer of Total Energies EP Nigeria. She served from 2018 until her retirement in March 2022. After 35 years meritorious service to the company and the Total Energies Group, she was responsible for management of the company's financial resources and internal control systems, financial relationships with joint venture partners, and people development. Tai is a chartered accountant by profession and has been appointed as managing director and later as non-ED of a closed pension fund administration company, ED and first female CFO of an international oil company in Nigeria, and senior executive of Total Energies SE France. She has also worked in Total Energies affiliate in the Netherlands. This is a very rich and long profile. Because of our time, please, you will pardon me so we can move quickly into the discussion of today. And like I said earlier, we are looking at the topic CFO position, navigating to the top of successful corporations. Let me start this way, madam. The growth and development of individuals, corporations, and nations take place under different conditions. And so are the criteria for assessing their successes or failures. And having you as our guest on the show today will avail our global viewers the opportunity to share from your wealth of knowledge and experience. So in simple terms, what is a corporation? And what are the types of corporations we have out there?
Okay. Thank you, Tosin, and good evening, my professional colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Well, I will be speaking from my experience, and so as somebody who has been in the industry for a while, a corporation, in my view, is a company or is an organization that it's a legal entity that separates ownership from the management, allowing the business to grow operate independently. So the management is distinct from the owners, and it gives growth potential. You have different types. You have the non-profits, so theirs is basically more a charitable organization or educational or social cause, like hospitals, for instance. Many of them are tax exempt. You also have the professional corporations, I would say, the professional firms. So they are forms of corporations too, but they are more of associations of licensed professionals like the lawyers, the doctors, and of course, we accountants. You also have the closed and family corporations that are limited in terms of their shareholding, and they restrict the transfer of shares. And of course, you have the publicly traded companies, which are quoted on the stock exchange, allow public ownership. So those are the few, but there are others. You also, of course, have the limited liability corporations, which are limited in terms of the liabilities of the company. Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell, but there are others. I'm sure if you go on to ChatGPT, it will give you, just download every different kind available. But those are the ones we see mostly and that we deal with in most climes.
Thank you very much for that response. Of course, you agree with me that if you want to talk about successful corporations, then our members, our student members who are on this show will need to first understand what the corporation is, and hence the need for that question. Now, having set the background to understand what a corporation is, for one who has been a successful finance person in a top-notch corporation, we want you to run our global viewers through some of the characteristics of successful corporations and some of the conditions that led to the failure or collapse of a once successful corporation.
Okay, so I know we all talk about going concern, and that involves, a company going from 1 year to the next, but not just from 1 year to the next, but from one decade to the next. And we see there are many successful corporations. You have the Coca-Colas that are 100 plus years old, and quite a few others. So I think one thing that is key for a successful corporation is clear vision and mission. It's well defined in terms of purpose, direction, and values. It has very strong leadership. So the leadership, they know the vision, they're able to communicate it, they are visionary, and they are strategic, and they also have to be able to inspire and motivate the people they work with. It also has to be adaptive, so changing with the times. Of course, we know, I mean, we can see, from the economy today, things have changed dramatically in terms of climate change, focus, reducing the carbon footprint. So the culture has to be dynamic to change with the times, foster innovation and collaboration, and of course, continuous learning. It's a learning process. It also has to be customer focused. So what does the customer want? Being able to satisfy the needs and commitments, the needs of the customer. Of course, operational efficiency it goes without saying. You have to be efficient internally, both in terms of cost and optimizing the resources that you have. Risk taking, that is key. You should be able to take risks and innovation, change with the times, embrace experimentations, and learning from failures, of course. Strategic planning goes without saying, setting realistic goals, cascading those goals down into the system so that everybody identifies with the goal and can identify his or her own role in attaining those goals. People are key. You have to manage and nurture your workforce, because without them, you don't have a company. I think, social responsibility, of course, being able to give back to your environment, the community in which you operate, of course, paying your taxes, but also looking at the social needs of the population in which you serve, community involvement. I think collaborative partnerships, where you see other people you can collaborate with others. It helps build a viable and sustainable company. Yeah, and basically, getting feedback from people, being able to improve, turnover, learn from mistakes. Yeah, I think those are the key things the key characteristics of a successful organization. Downfalls. Okay, well, you would say some companies, the financial discipline was not there. Maybe, there wasn't effective budgeting and reassessing, the goals that had been set, or probably not investing in the right kind of resources. Of course, leadership can also lead to a downfall, where you have purely autocratic type of leadership. Well, it does depend based on circumstances during the phase of the life of a company, but the leadership has to be able to listen, get feedback and listen and be able to adapt. So I think those are the key criteria that could lead to the downfall of a successful company.
Wow, excellent, I would say. Excellent, I would say, because you actually listed so many germane points for us to understand those key things that should be done by successful corporations, while those that should also, or that is also being done by those who also got collapsed along the way. Thank you very much for that beautiful response. And now the next part of it goes this way. Having you as a guest on the show today, immediately we launch out the flyers. Many people have already been looking up to you to say, no, can you look at the next guest that's coming on ICAN show? This is someone who has been in Total Energies for so many years. She's been in this, she's been in so many successful corporations. So they already have that expectations in terms of looking up to you. And so that will be taking up to the human resources part of the successful corporations discussion. So from the prism of human resources, I want you to give us a typical recruitment criteria for talent hunt of successful corporations. What are the hard and what are the soft attributes that professionals who desire to be in successful corporations should have? Hello, can you hear me, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I lost you. Yes, I lost you for a minute. Yes, but I got the gist of it. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I would say for successful corporations, it depends mainly on what you're looking for. Why are you recruiting at a certain point in time? Sometimes companies are looking, or most times companies are looking for young talent people they can coach and groom to take on the responsibilities of the organ or the tasks that they are going to do. They love people who think outside the box. Of course, your competence is key. That's basic. It's almost taken for granted that, well, as a person coming into the organization, being hired for a particular role, you do have competence in that role. Some organizations look for your experience. What have you done? Whereas some organizations will do what we call catch them young in ICAN parlance, bring them in green, and then you mold them into what you want them to be, going forward. When you're looking for talent hunt, you also want people who are truthful, who can be team players, because of course we all know that we don't work in silos. We want people who can be a team player. We are looking for your leadership capabilities. It might not be perfect, but this person, has that potential. We're looking at your potential growth. Can you thrive in our environment? And in terms of soft skills, of course, people interaction, people connectivity, interpersonal skills is key. And that's it. I think being able to think outside the box. I know many recruitments also involve you doing a test case, and we see how you interact, how you can respond and think outside the box. But then I'm not a talent hunter. I think I would leave that more to the talent hunters to, But that's my view anyway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Your view is also very germane, and I'm sure our members, our viewers, have actually taken note of those points you mentioned in terms of leadership capacity, in terms of being a team player. I think they are quite germane, that is expected of people who are coming into organizations. When you talked about the attributes that companies should possess in order to be successful, I remember you mentioned some keywords like transparency, accountability, and integrity. And I want to speak more on that area now, that help us to have a better understanding of those concepts, which includes transparency, accountability, and integrity, especially as they relate to individual and corporate entities.
Okay, thank you. In terms of accountability, you're responsible for your own actions. So it behoves on you as an individual to be, I would say, transparent in what you know and what you don't know. You come clean, and then you learn from those around you, your peers also, to be able to understand the rudiments of the game. You also need to align with the corporate values of the company which you are, because that also gives a guide as to how we as individuals behave within the organization which we function. And of course, people see us as representatives of the corporation. So where your organization, most successful organizations have a culture which they imbibe as you go along. You should be responsible. Every person has a job description, and so you are accountable for all those things that are listed in your job description. If there's anything you're not comfortable with, then we identify those as gaps, so that you can actually improve yourself or upskill on those areas of your job description that you're not to, where you have gaps, skill gaps. Being transparent, I would say, is like, I would say, putting all your cards on the table, aligning to what you know, what you don't know, and also for the sake of your integrity. I think being transparent, being open is key to embracing the confidence and trust of those you work with or those you deal with. That's for me in a nutshell. And then, of course, as I always say, you apply your passion, what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about something, it shows in your integrity, it shows in your accountability, it shows in your transparency.
Thank you very much. Passion is key, like you just mentioned. Thank you once again. But just a follow-up question there. You earlier talked about teamwork when you are mentioning the attributes in terms of human resource hunting and all of that. How important is teamwork and personal development, especially when trying to navigate to the top of a corporation? How important are these two major attributes, teamwork and personal development?
Okay, so we don't work in a vacuum. Okay, so you work with people around you. You can't do everything. You can do a lot of things, but you can't do everything. And one thing I have come to terms with, or not come to terms with, but we recognize, is that everybody brings something to the table. Our skills are different. We are diverse, but we all bring something unique to the table. So being able to identify one's contribution and then utilizing it for the success and meeting the objectives of your entity is key. So working as a team is critical. Being able to work as a team is critical. We also can't do everything. We have to delegate some of our roles. So, working as a team, everybody contributing his or her own quota makes a successful team. Now, in terms of personal development, we all have our unique skills, but we can also always improve on ourselves. Either it's in terms of communication, either it's in terms of working better together, understanding one another, understanding the different cultures of people, and being able to use those to our advantages is key as well. I would say for us as accountants, everything comes in figures. If it's not in figures, then we have a hard time, getting through it. So the soft skills are key to progress and are key to our development. So we have to hone those skills as well. Being able to negotiate, being able to convince, being able to make decisions, quick decisions, and being able to communicate those decisions for better management. Thank you.
Okay, man. You agree with me that this topic for today is more specific, particularly since we said CFO position. There are members out there who are CFOs. Only that some could be CMOs of small businesses, or either medium businesses, micro businesses, and all that, who are also aspiring one day to be CFOs of large corporations, just like you were a few years ago. Spending 35 years, total energies. That's a great one. Now, I will want you to, this next question, let's make it a bit practical so that those members out there can actually get to reason along and pick majorly one or two practical things from there. It is generally believed that successful corporations are typically associated with strategic or long-term development and reward plans. Can you take us through a typical training or development framework required from a young employee to a senior management cadre in a corporation?
Okay. Well, I'm going to speak from the experience of where I worked, because that's what I have. So I've worked in two places. I worked in Deloitte. I trained with Deloitte, and I must say that was a formidable training ground, as we all know. People see you and say, well, in 3 years' time, you're going to be here, so we have to start training you from today. It's basically the same thing. Within the corporate organization where I worked, training came on 3 levels. First, you had your technical training, so to hone your skills within the particular department or area of your job. Secondly, we had the personal development. So, of course, to hone your skills, we look at competency gaps where we think you need some extra work on, either communication or, networking and things like that. And then there's the third level, which looks at the horizon, 3 to 5 years from now. Based on your profile, we see you rising to this level. So what are the skills you need for middle management, at the middle management level, strategic thinking, decision making, of course, the negotiation comes in. So these are the 3 boxes in which training is categorized. And so it comes in all forms. There are so many organizations, management, development programs that are out there, which we subscribe our staff to, so that they can hone their skills and be in the constant process of continuous learning. learning doesn't stop once you get a job. It begins again. Thank you.
All right, all right. I think that's a clear one for us there, and it's well taken. This question I think I've earlier asked a part of it, but put differently. As someone who joined a multinational corporation and rose to the prestigious position of the Chief Financial Officer, CFO, we want you to counsel our young chartered accountants out there on what exactly to look out for and how to prepare when seeking job opportunities in multinational corporations.
Wow. Okay. First, I would say the competition is enormous. Due to, of course, because people want job stability and, of course, more pay. So that comes with the turf. The competition is fierce. The competition is fierce. Of course, your academic background is key, what you've done, where you've been. Aptitude is essential. In terms of, so first of all, we naturally use professional firms to screen the first level of applications. But then looking at it closely, you want to see what the person has done before, where the person has been. In nowadays, when you prepare your CV, you always put skills acquired along your journey. That is key because it also gives us an idea of what you have done, what you can do, and what you can do for us as an organization. How to prepare? I think the most important thing is to be confident. I know Google and ChatGPT can bring out the best of CVs. Just put in a few words, and it will come out with this beautiful, CV. But then, as recruiters, as people looking for transparency and honesty, I would say, we look through those and say, okay, this one, okay, this looks too good to be true. Okay, let's put this, in a separate box, and we'll, deal with those. And then you look at those who are genuinely, fresh on the turf, who have maybe 2-3 years experience, which may be what we are looking for at the time. You need to have good writing skills, of course, and then be ready to exhibit the skills that you've acquired. I think those are the main things. Yeah.
All right, all right. I think those are well taken in addition to what you have earlier told us regarding things to watch out for while looking for a job in a multinational corporation. You also told us that you just worked for 2 companies, Deloitte and Total Energies, but this is a different generation. Some employees are just highly mobile, continuously switching jobs and companies, regardless of the incentives, the pay packages. Based on your depth, knowledge, and experience today, what could be the possible reasons why these professionals are jumping and switching jobs this way? And do you think it's advisable?
Well, as chartered accountants, we are very versatile. We can do a lot of things, and we can do many things. So I'm not in any way biased towards those who change jobs. It's all in an attempt to satisfy their knowledge, their wealth, their experience. In some cases, it's very good, depending on where you work. In other cases, I would say it's when you've, reached a certain level, it's good to be a bit more stable so that you can learn from the culture of that organization, and then use that as an additional advantage to yourself in order to seek jobs elsewhere. I would say for people who move often, I don't know. I don't know, the baby boomer generation. I'm not the Gen Zs. I could attribute it to a number of things. It could be boredom. It could be that you're not being challenged enough in your role, the role that you're currently in, and you can do more, you want to do more. So of course that's an imperative to move on to something else. Sometimes it's not the opportunity to be able to express yourself is not there. and that stifles you. So that's also another reason why people would want to move on to places where they can be heard, where their input means something, and you can see the value of your input in an organization. There are also, I know, integrity issues whereby you think your integrity is being compromised, and you feel, look, I need to keep my integrity intact. I can no longer work in this organization. I have tried this, I have tried that, and it's not working. So those, for me, are the main reasons why I think accountants would want to switch jobs and switch companies, apart from the incentives and the package. And of course, as advice, I would just say follow your passion, because when you follow your passion, your work becomes, it's not work to you anymore. It's what you do, it's what you live for, it's what you thrive on. And I think at the end of the day, that is where everybody wants to be, to have job satisfaction in what they do.
Follow your passion is a summary of the response. And I think that aligns with the saying that talents will jump and run to where talent is required. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the voice, and you can see the face of Tai Oshisoya, FCA, who is our guest on the show today. And she has been speaking on the topic, CFO position, navigating to the top of successful corporations. Let's quickly go on commercials. We'll be back shortly. Please send in your questions. She's on seat to answer those questions. We'll be back shortly. Don't go away.
The Skill Up Artisans Program Super is an initiative of the federal government.
The aim of Super is to upskill Nigerian artisans for better employability. This we are carrying out by collecting the data of Nigeria artisans through massive registration, training, certification, and licensing for better job opportunities, both locally and internationally.
Super will improve the quality of life of Nigeria artisans. It will improve the quality of work from Nigeria artisans, enhance work and professional ethics from Nigeria artisans, reduce dependency on foreign artisans, and increase foreign exchange through talent export.
Log on to super.itf.gov.ng to register now. Super, upskilling Nigeria artisans for super job.
You are welcome back to the studio, and we are still here with Mrs. Tai Oshisoya, FCA, the former CFO of Total Energies, and we are discussing the topic CFO position, navigating to the top of successful corporations. Like we usually say, maybe some of the accountants out there think that it's quite expensive to run advert on ICAN on air. It is not. It is not. Bring your wares, bring your services. Let's shout on it. Let's get it out there for people to know what you do at affordable rate. Bring us today and let's do business together. And we are still in ICAN on air, and we are here having that topic. But let's quickly go and check on the viewers who have joined us earlier today. We have Jabbar Abdullahi. We have Suraj Ibrahim live from Kaduna. Taufik Lawal streaming from Abeokuta. We have Esther Julius. Esther is streaming from Akure. We have Paul Adepiton. Olakpeju Olaifa from Lagos. We have Remy Ezugo all the way from Delta State. We have Onyema Emmanuel from Onitsha District. We have Lydia Tolulope Adenaike from Ijebu Ode. We have Olamide Suraj from Lagos. Shosan Olusoji from Abeokuta in Ogun State. Fagbolate Mitope from Ibadan. We have a Kemi James from Abuja. A whole lot, Godwin Onwe from Benin. So a whole lot are here. We also have Fatai Odetunde watching live from UK. So people join this program from all parts within the country and even outside the country to learn, to follow the program so that they can add more knowledge to their knowledge. So send in your questions while we will take your questions at the appropriate time. Madam, you're welcome back again after the break. Okay, so I think you're having a network glitch. Or can you hear me, please?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I can hear you.
okay.
I can hear
you. Okay, so let's go to another area which is more common with your gender, and that's the issue of barrier. And your profile shows that you are part of WIMBIS, Women in Business, and all that. In the words of legendary Arnold Schwarzenegger, so in our society, the women who break down barriers are those who ignore limits. Under the subject or context of gender, what exactly is a barrier, and what are the likely barriers that your gender who are doing well in multinationals out there could face, and how do they thrive over those challenges?
Okay. Okay, I think there's an echo on the line. Okay. In terms of barriers, I think by nature, women have both careers and the home affairs to deal with. There's no doubt about that. But I think it comes in phases, or it should come in phases. But for the female gender, it's knowing what to prioritize and when. And I think that is a challenge to us as women. We don't always want to let go of the home front in pursuit of our careers. But I think a good support system is what is needed. Those who cheer you on, those who help in any way they can to make sure that your career and the home front run in parallel. I would say in terms of having a good support, it doesn't, well, usually it's from the home front, but I would also say it's also those around you. What we call in WIMBIS, women helping women in any way or shape or form. I was amazed at some ladies in the organization where I worked who looked after each other's children during the busy periods. I mean, I just felt that was awesome. So, knowing those challenges and being able to you need to express your challenges, because until you know what the challenge is and are able to express it, others don't know how to help. So, being able to express your needs, having mentors. I know now in my days, I would say, coming along with the career, we didn't talk so much of mentors. So we just went to somebody and said, please, how do you do this? How do you do that? But now, and it's a very good thing, you have mentors, ladies who have been there, or people, because it's both men and women, who have been there, done that, and you can always learn from that experience. So in terms of being able to juggle both the home front and your career, it's no longer a myth. Women do it every day now because they have that strong support from both the family, from your colleagues at work, and from peers in the organization. I hope that has answered the question.
Yes, certainly, it does. So you're saying that women's gender shouldn't be a barrier to them in any way because that's well gotten. Okay, so another part of it before we go to our viewers or audience question. You work with a reputable multinational corporation and rising to the enviable position of a CFO, worthy of praise and emulation. So I will want you to take us through some of the challenges that you actually encountered and how you were able to navigate your way through those challenges.
Okay, thank you. One thing I would like to say is leadership styles. That for me was a challenge at the beginning, but I was promptly guided. And the key thing is to be able to understand the different leadership styles that are out there, both as you're growing up within the organization, and of course, when you now take leadership roles, and to be able to adapt to your boss's leadership style. It can be frustrating when your boss is always telling you, do this, do this, do this, do that, without asking, what do you think? Does this work? Okay, come back to me with a proposal. So there are different leadership styles, and that can be confusing. It can be challenging at times because you don't know what the boss wants. You don't know whether to speak up, speak out. So that can be a challenge. But at the end of the day, being able to adapt to your boss's style can also improve on your skills as well. I'll give a very brief example. At some point in my career, I was sent on training, and I was then asked to come back and head the management information system. Now, my bosses assumed that, well, you've been to training, you know what to do, get on with it. So it was more of a laissez-faire, delegative kind of leadership. I got on with it. I mean, I was trained, so I knew what to do. But I felt, every now and then my boss should come to me and say, oh, how are you getting on? Do you have any challenges? Do you have this? Do you have that? And it never happened. So one day I went to his, so I complained about it. Of course, you talk about it. And then somebody said, yeah, but why not ask your boss to book an item in his agenda that he must come and he must call for you, book a meeting to see him. So I did that. And when I went to see him, he said, very nice to see you. How are you? Okay, how's it going? And I said, yes, I would like to have this kind of meeting every month, just to encourage me, just to make sure that, you know what I'm doing, and, things are moving in the right direction. And if you have any comments, let me know, So that was how it worked. But it was a challenge for me to say that I had bosses, because when appraisals come, they never ask me what I'm doing. How do they know how well I'm doing, if they don't ask? So that was the kind of, thing. Another challenge for me, going through the system was that I was working with colleagues who assumed that I could do anything and everything. And that was sometimes very frustrating because, sometimes it's a lot of work. As accountants, we do the tax, we do the budget, we do the treasury, we do the cash book, we do the payments. And, sometimes it is just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. But I must say that as I rose through the corporate ladder, I tended to focus on those things that I was interested in and made that my passion. Like I keep coming back to the word passion, because it's the passion that drives your motivation, it drives your innovation, it drives your critical thinking. So with that, I was able to, always hold on to something and move up the ladder. Another challenge I had was being able to move to Port Harcourt, because I was recruited in Lagos, and at the time when all the international oil companies were asked to move to their operational base, the question was move to Port Harcourt. But then again, I had family support. I had a family in Port Harcourt, which was excellent. And it was like, come on over, we'll take care of you. You just get on with your work, that kind of thing. So, having family as your support system also helps. And of course, a very supportive spouse is also key in championing your career, getting to the top as well.
Okay, I think that's well understood and well answered. Thank you very much for that wonderful response. Before we go and take some audience questions, let me quickly go with this question because it's still in line with what we are currently talking of. Now, you agree with me that there are various stakeholders in an organization, especially in the corporation, like where you work, with the reference point of what we are talking about currently. So my question is, as a once celebrated CFO, in what ways can CFOs navigate work complexities and foster the culture of transparency and effective communication? That's my emphasis. Effective communication amongst stakeholders in the organization.
Okay. So first and foremost, the CFO, in many cases, as far as stakeholders are concerned, they are seen as the paymasters. That's pure and simple. If your payment system is not working, then you are not working as a CFO. Forgetting that there are so many other aspects to the role of a CFO. So in navigating complexities, the key thing actually is to hold true to your values and work with the people you have. Work with the people you have. Building a culture of transparency and effective communication, you need to communicate downwards. in terms of the vision of the company, the mission of the company, and the strategic objectives for the year, you need to have the buy-in of those around you, both in terms of your employees, also in terms of your vendors, and also in terms of the environment in which you operate. I use the word integrity, holding true to your values, because when you are able to be a people person and communicate on the values that you hold dear, then those around you would also emulate those ideals. And of course, because you're all working, you've been able to cascade the objectives and strategy and vision of the company to the people you work with. So you've broken it down to their level to say, this is how you fit into the whole, the grand scheme of things. And this is what the company is relying on you to do. Then you're able to foster that culture of coercion. We're all working towards the same goal. If you have any complexities, let us know so that we can, as a group, tackle those challenges together. So communication is key. It's key, but also holding true to your values is also key.
Communication is key, but also holding true to your values is very key. Those are the words of Mrs. Tayo Shisoya, FCA. Okay, let's quickly go and take some questions from the audience. They have questions for you, madam, and let's quickly take them one after the other. The first is from Fagbola Temitope Adeni, FCA. Said, holding the purse strings, as chief finance officer in an organization, how can it impact positively on the other C-suite position, such as chief operating officer, chief responsibility officer, marketing director, production manager, etc.? Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. So thank you for that. So in the organization where I worked, we had what we called a management information system, an integrated management information system, where everybody used the same system and the processes flow from one system to the next. So the production team will put in their production profile, their details, their objectives, which will now cascade down to the procurement. What do they need? The equipment they need, the resources they need. The procurement team would also put in the economic order quantities or timelines, and where they can purchase the materials from, which the accountants can see, so that they know how to manage the treasury forecasts and know when they would have to pay suppliers and things like that. So everything was, integrated, and we all had to communicate together. So we had meetings that were what we called, I think it was a management information system meeting, whereby we have all the stakeholders, all the players in the same room and discussing their needs together. So as the CFO, you need to understand the business. You need to understand what makes the business tick, what is critical for if the effective operations of the business. When do they need the money? When must the vendors bring in the equipment or the resources that are needed? When must they be paid? What are the timelines? So that you can effectively help them do their business. I think at the end of the day, that is what we finance. The finance team was seeing. We said we support the main business. So the business is key, and you have to understand what that business is to be able to support them effectively.
Exactly. Okay, thank you very much. Let's take another question from Damola Badejo. A question from Damola Badejo. Media, please, can you help us to project that question? I think I saw it a few seconds ago. Okay, so while media is projecting that, let's take a question from Jabir Abdullah. Say, for aspiring CFOs, are certain required skills for the position of CFO across all corporations, or are there differences in what the companies need from a CFO that differ from that of the other? Let me take it again for clarity. For aspiring CFOs, are certain required skills for the position? Are there certain required skills for the position of CFO across all corporations? Or are there differences in what the companies need from a CFO that differ from that of the other? I don't know if it is clear to you in any way.
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear. Yes.
Okay, sure.
So yes. So there are some the prerequisite, I would say, skills and knowledge required of a CFO. Of course, you need to know your turf in terms. You need to know the technical stuff. You need to know your budgeting. You need to know your financial reporting and all the guidelines and acts and I would say reporting guidelines that affect the finance world. As CFOs, we are responsible for the annual reports, the financial statements, and all other documents of a financial nature. And that is why the Companies Act, the Federal Reporting Council of Nigeria Act, the Society of Corporate Governance, they all focus on the role of the CFO, of the Chief Financial Officer. Those roles are key. They don't change. They are static from one entity to the next. However, in addition to those financial roles as the financial officers of the company, you also have to understand what goes on within your specific organization. Because the way you do the reporting, the way you do your financial statements, the internal controls that you need to put in place to be sure that what comes out of your system is reliable, accurate, and credible, those differ from one one organization to another. So the journey is that you must be abreast with the new finance acts, the implications on the withholding tax and the VAT, which is the talk of the moment. Climate change, I would say, it seems a bit far off to us as accountants in terms of we are not the ones producing or we are not the ones putting the carbon in the air, but we have to now with the IFRS sustainability reporting, the job comes back to us. So we need to be able to understand what is involved, how our businesses and roles are impact on the sustainability of our environment, and be able to report on the carbon emissions, how we are as an organization, we are trying to reduce our carbon footprint and all that. So there are very our roles are defined. Our roles are defined. We know what our roles are in terms of the technical stuff. But then the environment, the social environment in which we live also has its own added complexities, which we also have to take into account. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Our time is fast spent and we need to rush now. Can we still take one more question from the audience? Okay, Damola Badejo, please, with the high rate of attrition in most companies, how do you advise CFOs to manage the task and responsibilities within the finance department such that the work does not suffer? For instance, as accountants, we support auditors, which requires one having a good historical knowledge of some transactions before one can adequately work with the auditors. In 30 seconds, madam, can we please have your response to this question?
Well, I know that as accountants, we always talk about segregation of duties. So it means that we need 3 people to carry, to perform one task from start to finish. At least you need 3 people: the person, the initiator, the approver, and the payer. But however, when there's that turnover, that constant turnover, you discover that you no longer have those 3 silos. But then I think that's where you also need to bring in others who can assist. Either you outsource part of the job, or when you outsource, then that history is lost. You need to have people who have been able to document the processes so that even if people leave, you have a document which shows, the proper processes, the way they should be run, and you can always guide others onto how to do the tasks that are ahead. So documentation of the processes is key.
Okay. And finally, for today's episode, according to Winston Churchill, a former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, he said, "Success is not final and failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." As a knowledge coach, what was a typical sweet, good, or successful work day as a CFO, and what's a typical bad day for you as a CFO? In 1 minute, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll start with a bad day because we always like to end on a positive note. So a bad day for me was if I receive a long list of outstanding invoices and a summons to explain why those invoices have not been paid. Of course, that always comes with the fact that the CFO is in charge of payments, which is not entirely the case. But of course, that's what you're accountable for. So knowing this, how did I get around it? I had to have meetings with the vendors. So we had sessions with the vendors in conjunction with procurement, because they are the people who bring the vendors to us, to explain what the processes are, how they work. And yes, of course, in the beginning, vendors scream and, they want to be paid, which is a genuine concern. But we also, with positive interaction and trying to iron out the genuine, the issues, yes, they began to understand where we were coming from and where they were coming from, and mutually we were able to solve, many of those cases, leaving the door open, to have an inquiry desk, so that if you do have specific problems, we'll be able to tackle them, as the days go by. A sweet working day for me was when I facilitated the training with all the players. So I always come back to this integrated management system, because that's the thrust of what we do. And I was able to put, all the players, representatives from all the players into the same room. So we had procurement. So it was a process from procurement to pay. So we had the procurement, the cost controllers, the invoice processors, the budget, the reporting. They were all in the room. And, because they knew they had a task to complete, the energy with which they were quick to resolve the issues that were raised in terms of, the names of the vendor not being correctly put in the system, because one was a limited liability and one was not a limited liability, to the names of the vendors, to the amounts, the currencies, to the quantities that were ordered versus the quantities that were delivered. It was enriching and fulfilling to see that everybody was on board to solve this problem. And I really felt fulfilled as a change manager, because we were changing, the operating systems, and we wanted to be sure that the people had grasped the essence of having this integrated system which works for everyone.
Wow, feeling fulfilled as a change manager. On that note, we want to say a very big thank you to the guest for today, Mrs. Tayo Shisoya, FCA, Independent Director to Credit Val Group Limited, and the former CFO to Total Energies. We say thank you so much, madam, for coming on the show today and for sharing your wealth of experience with our members and the friends of the Institute. Thank you so much, madam, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you everyone for being a part of this event. Thank you so much. And we
request that when next we call upon you, we will trust that you will happen to our calls, man.
Definitely. Thank
you. Thank you very much. So let's really take some announcements we have for the show today. The 54th Annual Accountants Conference, we've been notified of that conference. However, there's a notice of venue change. The new venue is now Transcorp Hilton Hotel at 1 Agui Rosu Street, Maitama, Abuja, and Abuja Continental Hotel at 1 Ladi Kwali Street, Abuja. The theme of the conference is Governance Reimagined, Mapping the Future. The date conference is coming up between 7th to 11th October 2024. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and register. If you can register before this July ends, you are entitled to 10% early bird discounts. Go ahead and register. Also, important security notice. There is a phishing attempt targeting ICAN members. Please be informed that ICAN will never request sensitive information via email or ask members to update their information through an external link. So all these emails you are receiving are phishing attempts. Do not click on those external links. Thirdly, November 2024 diet provisional examinations is at hand. The date has been announced, November 19th to November 21, 2024. However, registration closes by November 8, 2024. Go ahead and register. Also, ICAN USA International Accountant Conference and induction is coming up between August 27th and September 1st, 2024. And the theme is AI in accounting and finance. Get on board or fall overboard. Our time is fast spent, and we need to close the show now. We thank you so much for being part of this show today, for learning, for being with us, and for staying through with us at all times. Till I come your way again, I remain Tosin Akinwumi, FCA, saying thank you for watching and bye for now.